Hello, welcome to Get Your Mind On. I'm Lori Stohs. As we continue to think about different situations in our life and how they tie to our strengths, today we're going to focus on something that many of us do as part of our lives and part of our families that has a tendency to maybe get a little frustrating. When I hear people come back from wonderful vacations and seeing beautiful things and creating great memories, there's always this little piece that says, oh, but of course there's that standard planning on the front end that I don't love to do, or there's the, when we were there, the conflict that happened because of the family, or somebody was upset about something, or somebody didn't want to do this or that. So today we're going to talk about that, the great vacation planning. Although we're a little bit away from summer yet, my son and I had taken a trip over spring break. And so it's interesting when we think about this. Again, I'm going to approach this not from telling you how to be the best planner. I'm going to approach it from thinking about how we as individuals approach these situations through our strengths, and how when we are together, we can maybe look at it differently and maybe minimize our frustrations by not placing expectations on others because we think that they think like we do. Again, if you remember, the chances of somebody being similar to you or the same as you is very, very rare. So very common to think that we're going to have some conflicts when we come to these kinds of things, such as vacation planning. But what are some easy ways to really think about understanding it based off who you are? So this time, when Ethan and I went on our trip, he's going to be graduating from college, and so I thought, let's take a little trip. And we decided, number one, to do something differently that totally shocked him, which was fly part of the way and drive a lot. And that was one thing that he's like, wow, okay, let's do that. And then the second thing was no plan, really. And he said, who are you and where did my mother go? And so I thought, interestingly enough, as I work on my development journey and think about who I am and really be connected to my natural self, you kind of stop and pause sometimes to say, how much have you been doing because you've always done it that way? And how much is really the way that's more natural to you? So when we thought about this whole vacation piece, I said, I have it under control. We kind of knew where we were heading. And we flew, like I said, back to his home and then drove from there. Number one is because we wanted to see a little bit more of the country. We have a tendency to fly places and don't get to see as much. But the biggest piece on this vacation was the plan. Now, Ethan is a planner. He likes to know what's going on. He's very predictable. He wants to understand, okay, what are we doing when and when and when? So we at least have that in alignment. So as you know, some people in your family, or some of you, may be really good planners. You're the one that has every piece outlined, what day when, and it could be for different reasons. I had a friend who went to Disneyland and our Disney World, and they had the spreadsheet of every day, and literally it was in 5-minute blocks. And so they clearly had everything planned perfectly to the T, and it was like, you know, this is exactly what we're going to do. Now, some of you are like, oh yeah, that's what I do. Some of you are like, oh my gosh, no way, that feels too restricted. So again, we all look at these things different. Some people, so that kind of comes sometimes from comfort and security of knowing and understanding what's happening. Other people may approach that by saying, you know what, we're going somewhere, we only have so much time, and so therefore I want to make the use of every minute that we have to approach that. So even if you have a plan, your approach for that plan or reason for that plan might be different, where the first one was a little bit more about not wanting to be caught off guard and knowing exactly what to do, more from a confidence piece. The second one is more from a time management piece and wanting to maybe know and understand that I want to make the most use of my time because, you know, there's only certain events during some times that we have to hit, and so they want to make sure that that's there. The third way some people I see talk about it, and this is a little bit of both, is how can you come together and have two different ways by putting some things in plan. I have a friend, and her husband do a lot of traveling, and he's more of laid back and let's wake up at, you know, whenever and decide that day what we're doing. And she says, okay, we can do that, but I do want to have some core things in place because this only, you know, that place might be closed on Mondays, and this is the days that this is happening, and we have to get tickets ahead because it sells out. So she's kind of the one then that puts the pieces in place in the big chunks of time, and then they can have some fluidity the rest of the time to match his schedule. So that's another good way to bring the two together. That's a little bit about what I did with this trip. So my way, but was only one thing. I had the first night at a hotel. Other than that, everything else was free flowing. So I myself went a little bit out of my comfort zone, because as much as I travel, I know I could kind of figure anything out, because sometimes you're caught off guard with delayed flights or things change, and so it always works out. But I was really wanting to take this trip to not plan, to say, let's just go with it. And we had an idea of where we were heading, and wanted to just really try that, just to see from my perspective and my strengths, and kind of, I believe in everything happens for a reason. So I had the night of hotel planned, and then everything else just fell into place from that. But we weren't restricted by time. And so for us, even though it was a little uncertain to go, gosh, are we going to have a hotel? Are we going to have this or that because it's spring break week? It was really beautiful to watch it unfold. It was really beautiful to see it come together, and that we kind of took some time, and we still got all the things in that we wanted to see, because we had put a few things out there. Well, these are a list of some of the things we want to see along the way. So if we kind of put the patchwork together of what could work, that was really the way we took it. But we took it a much more different flow. So really, when you think about how you approach things, this is, again, another way to look at something that we do, but to how can we minimize the frustrations. So Ethan went with it, and he did get, we at least knew what city we were going to be in, and he had enough structure to make him feel comfortable. But it was interesting as we got down to the end of the trip, he's like, wow, we got to still see everything that we did. And it was neat. It was a neat experience for both him and I to see. And I think sometimes when we think about the way we go about things, it's really kind of cool to watch how everybody does things differently, because we see our lens come through of what's important to us. But I think the biggest thing for me with that is sometimes we just have to trust and let go. Vacation should be less control. And so, at least that's my opinion. And so really sometimes letting it unfold really gives us more beauty of maybe even some things that we didn't even think we were going to see that we did. So for positive charge this week, I want you to think about, number one, what's your way of planning a vacation? 2 is maybe what is your partner's or family's way? And 3, how can you really maybe come together to do that planning so we can have a good outcome for everyone? So again, any situation that we have in life that's just a life piece that's important, like creating memories on vacation or taking a family somewhere, whether it's a family reunion or just the two of you together, is important. And minimizing the frustrations and understanding how we all approach things are important to understand. Thanks for joining us today, and remember to get your mind on.